Welcome to this bonus edition of Strange New Pod. I'm your Fleet Admiral along with Praetor Giraffe. I'm Julian, here for a very special episode. We are thrilled to be joined by the writers of the upcoming Star Trek Voyager Homecoming comic series from IDW, Susan and Tilly Bridges. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you both?
We are persisting, and thank you for having us.
Yes.
Persisting is a good word.
So I
That's
said,
about
not
as good as it gets
thriving,
these days.
but still here.
Yes, exactly.
Everything is a lot, and
Yeah.
yet we just keep on going.
Yeah, it is a lot going on right now just with everything. So yeah, I really like persisting.
So we usually ask our guests what their favorite Star Trek episode or favorite Star Trek character from any track. But since you're writing a Voyager comic, we would like to know what is each of your favorite Voyager episodes and character, if you have one.
You want me to go first?
Go first.
All right. I love Tuvok with all of my heart. I get very upset when anyone is bad to him because he's my baby. So I have been known to yell Tuvok, my baby.
Every time
at
he's
the
on screen.
television. Tuvok,
Yes.
my baby. So he is definitely one of my favorites, and I like hate picking like a favorite. Like here's my number one favorite. I'm not good at that. So I think like I would say my favorite Tuvok episode is probably Innocence because he's alone with the little alien.
Oh,
children.
yeah.
I love that
It's
episode.
it's so very Tuvok, and I just enjoyed so much of that. But of course, I love the Doctor and Seven, and for them, I feel like the Body and Soul episode where like he gets downloaded into Seven's implants
Oh,
to hide
that
him,
was fun.
and the cheesecake on the internet, like that is just super great moment. So I guess that's probably my faves.
Okay. I know it's probably going to seem a little cliche to say, but Janeway, absolutely. I love her so much. I mean, it's easy to say the captain, but I think that she has such a fascinating character, and she's so different from all the other captains, and she's so determined, and she feels this sort of guilt and responsibility for her crew, and she never lets doing what she believes is truly the right thing. She never lets anything get in the way of her doing that, no matter how controversial it may seem or how difficult it is. She's always, putting the good of the many first, and I really love that about her. So for me, I think Counterpoint probably is one of my favorites because it's a really great episode for her. It shows how smart and cunning she is, and I love that it's got the sort of social message that Star Trek does so well, where you're helping these oppressed people fight the oppression and get them to safety. And so a whole lot about that episode just speaks directly to my Star Trek loving heart.
I love that answer. We stand Janeway here too. We just did a whole Janeway episode a few months back for Kate Mulgrew's birthday. So yeah, I think we all spent like 3 hours on that one because she's such a badass.
She is. It's wild. Like getting into her head to write her is just like the most amazing thing. So I love it.
Getting her in a tank top with a gun.
Tank Top Janeway is top Janeway.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into that then, right? Because Voyager coming home from the Delta Quadrant and the aftermath and the repercussions from their time away is a story that Trekkies have been asking about for years and years. Why was now finally the time to tell that story, and how did it come about?
Actually, it came about because of Voyager's 30th anniversary. We were already in talks with the editor of the Star Trek books at IDW, Heather Antos, about a different Trek book that we're still hoping to do. But Paramount contacted her then and said they would like to do something to feature Janeway and Voyager for the 30th anniversary. And they asked us for pitches. And so we sent them like 5 different ideas for, they wanted it to focus on Janeway. So we sent them 5 ideas sort of from different points in her career. Like when she was a younger, newer officer, when she was first a captain, later in her admiralty, or like when she just became an admiral. And then we pitched the one that, the finale of Voyager is great, but you don't get to see them go home, right? And that always for 30 years, right? You're like, ah, why didn't we get to see that? You spend 7 years with them. You want to see them reunite with people. And so that was the one that everybody at IDW and Paramount was on board with and picked. And so we spent some time going back and forth about who their adversary should be and who was available, not being used in other stories, or who Paramount was okay with us using. And so it was a whole process back and forth, very collaborative. And then we settled on what that was going to look like, and off we went. Yeah. Although I will say, I don't want folks to get the wrong impression from our series. They do get home, and you are going to get those reunions you've waited so long for. But the repercussions of everything that they did in the Delta Quadrant is not something that this book really gets into.
Cool.
Yeah, there's already stuff that's been done in the comics with them not too long after they got back. So we have to kind of fit it all in between things that have already been done and where we are. So,
which made it extra difficult.
yeah, it did.
Speaking of these collaborative ways of working on comics, we know what happens later with Prodigy, with Picard,
Yeah.
Lower Decks. So you're really like in between two eras of Trek. So how does it work for you to pitch two stories? Like you just bring things and they tell you no, or they put some things on the table saying you have to do like this?
Well, I think a lot of it was very much just yes or no.
Yeah.
And that was fine, because we were like, Voyager has had a lot of adversaries. There's a lot of threads you can pull on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too hard to like come up with a concept. And then they're like, okay, but we don't like that adversary necessarily. And then we were like, okay, what if we swap in this adversary? It's kind of pretty much the same story. And
Right.
And it kind of worked.
Yeah. And they've actually, like, there are things that Paramount would say, no, we don't want you to do this or whatever. And that's fine. But they've given us a lot of leeway, I feel, in exploring and kind of deepening one of the alien races from the show that we learned things about, but not a ton about maybe. And so we've gotten to sort of flesh them out more and add a lot of context and backstory to what their existence is like. And that's been really fun.
Yeah, and also kind of because, they're out there doing their thing, Voyager, and, there are times they did not maybe follow Starfleet procedure in contacting other. Maybe it made some people mad. I mean, like,
who can say? Not us
say?
until the first, but
But,
yeah,
it was, but going back and forth with them has been a really good experience, I would say.
yeah,
Because nothing ever felt like you absolutely must not, or it never felt personal or anything.
No.
It was just like, okay, we're not doing this.
yeah. And usually, if there was a thing we couldn't do, we would get a reason, like, oh, you can't use this character or this species because they're in this other story that's going on at the same time, and we don't want to double up on those, or just chronologically in the universe, it wouldn't make sense for them to be in two places at once, or things like that. So, and we don't have that knowledge going in, right? We don't know where every single moving piece in the extended universe is. So
I think it is okay to say we could not promote Harry.
That
It
was
was one of
gonna
the
be
first
one of my
questions we asked.
questions.
it
Yeah.
was one of the first things. Like, can we finally promote Harry? We were so excited, and they said no, because there's an existing story already that takes place after this where
But
he's
he is
still an
not
ensign.
promoted, so you can't
Right.
promote.
So that was the thing that we
but we
couldn't
did
do.
try.
We tried.
Starfleet's giving him the shaft, man.
Right?
Come on, Harry.
I just like the idea that there's somebody at Paramount that knows what every single character does. I want a job. I would be so good at that job.
I want that job.
Like being the repository of like what everybody's doing. Each
Yeah,
way, what way.
We have a dedicated person outside of like the IDW actual comic editors. There's a dedicated person who knows all of the it's like a lore expert on all of Star Trek, which is great because we know a lot, but not every little detail, but also works with Paramount and knows where everything is in, like, tie-in stuff like the comics or the novels, and they know where everything is in the shows, and they get all the scripts ahead of time, and they know all of the moving pieces and what's doable and what isn't. So yeah, it must be a wild job.
Hashtag goals. I want that job.
Yeah, right. And it sounds like from what you're both saying is that they seem to be really taking the kind of like the new lit verse and the new comic verse really seriously when it comes to keeping everything kind of like tightly in canon,
Yeah.
so nobody's like crossing over each other. That's actually like really good.
Yeah, it's really exciting, I think, from like a fan standpoint, where you're not going to be like, oh, these two things are contradicting each other. No, they're really working hard to make sure it all fits together cohesively, which is really cool.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
definitely worked with other comic companies that are like want things to be more vague or like, just in case,
Yeah.
so stuff like that. But yeah.
So but I was actually really like when you see it, when you read the full limited series, there's a lot that you're going to see that we got to do with their adversary for this story that I'm really surprised they let us do. We got to just invent a lot of things for them for their alien culture, and it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Besides this adversary that I cannot like wait to see in the book, there are just a lot of incredible stories that I think can be told and should be told, and maybe they have been told in other literature and comics. I'm not entirely sure. Things like how do Tom and B'Elanna acclimate like once they're home? How is Seven received? How quickly does Janeway get promoted? Because she's an admiral in like Nemesis already, right? You just told me Harry doesn't get promoted. We know you guys can't really get into spoilers for the stories here, but anything we can expect from our Voyager crew now that they're finally back home?
You will see the reunions with their families or loved ones or friends or people that they have back on Earth. And I think one thing that we can say is that after Voyager ends, we don't see Seven again until Picard. And a lot has happened to her in there. And so we got to sort of take her from where she left off in Voyager and sort of open the path to where she goes. So you can interpret that as you will, but we get to that was one of the most fun things we got to do because a lot of the characters don't change a whole lot and they have to stay consistent with where they are in stories that come right after ours. But Seven does have this wide open period where she changes. And so we got to sort of explore that and give her the impetus that makes her sort of re-examine some things. So that was a really exciting thing to get to do.
I agree. That was probably the best thing that we got to do.
Yeah, it was the second thing we asked after if we could promote Harry. Can we do this one specific thing for Seven? And they were like, yes, absolutely. And we were so excited. So
yes.
People are always like wanting more Seven content. So
exactly.
Yeah.
She's so great. I will say
she's on practically every cover.
Well, I don't know about that, but you're gonna see some of Tom and B'Elanna and how they adapt to being parents because in the finale, like B'Elanna just gave birth. And so that's actually been a difficult part of our book is we have to constantly keep track of Moral, the baby. Who's got the baby? Where is the baby? This baby is 2 hours old. Where is the baby?
You just leave the baby with a doctor. Come on.
There are so many baby conversations.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
But I do want to add though that like this book is not meant for just like hardcore fans. Like it's a lot, but like in the beginning, the very first issue, like we had to sum up all of Voyager basically, and also sum up where the finale left Voyager. And so like that context is given if you haven't seen Voyager or
it ended a long time ago.
It was 30 years ago at the time.
But that's something they've done a really good job over at the IDW Trek Comics with is trying to make them accessible to people who maybe aren't Star Trek fans and get them into Star Trek this way. And so that was a thing that we had to do with our story is that we wanted to give Voyager fans and Star Trek fans everything they're hoping for from a sort of like second finale for Voyager. But also, if you've never seen Star Trek, if you've never seen Voyager, we want you to read this and have a really fun and exciting sci-fi space adventure story. And then show you what's so great about these characters and get you to love them. Then maybe you'll go watch the show after, So we're trying to make it accessible to everybody.
Yeah, and the notes were really helpful too because we got notes from a lot of people on every issue. Yeah. And sometimes people gave us notes that are not as familiar. And those notes were really helpful in like
knowing what needs a little more explanation.
I
Yeah.
understand this type of scan the doctor is doing. They don't realize this is unusual. So we should call that out as an unusual thing, even though as Star Trek people, of course we know. But like that's one of the things too that definitely they kept a really strong eye on that because obviously we've watched all of the Star Treks
Many times.
many times.
Yes.
They didn't want it to be too inside baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
That's a great point because like I'm I'm a comic book nerd. Like I go to the comic book shop. I have my comic book shop where I go. Support your local comic book shop, people who are
Yes.
listening.
Yeah.
And they always buy the Star Trek comics for me. Me and another guy, I think. But like Star Trek comics are in such a resurgence right now. We interviewed Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing.
Yeah.
I'm actually rereading Day of Blood right now, and there's so much Star Trek coming out. Like we did also the Choose Your Own Adventure for Lower Decks. We reviewed this one.
So good.
It's
So
a lot
good.
of fun.
It
Um,
is so good.
So there
Yeah.
are all the stories that are adjacent, parallels, or in between shows, and that's a great point. Like, how does a new comic find their audience? Like, how are you talking to fans? Are you pre-orders are super important, I suppose. How
Mhm.
does that goes into your writing the story? Basically, who are you writing for when you write the story?
I think when we write anything, Star Trek or not, the first people we write for is ourselves. Because if we don't love it, nobody who reads it is going to love it, right? We have to really love the story we're telling. And then
And also, I'm very harsh.
you are. You're very harsh.
I am very hard to please.
Yes.
I'm like, this isn't enough. Make it better.
But I'm the same. Like I look at the thing I make, like the cosplay or the makeup, and I'm like, this is bad. This is wrong. This is the thing. Like this is all art, right?
Yeah.
You do have that in common. Yeah. So we write for ourselves first. And then I think we write for Star Trek fans because we're Star Trek fans. We're like, what would we as fans want to see? What are the character moments we want to see? What are the big, exciting, events that we would love to see that we never got to see? And we try to work those in. And then outside of that, we're just writing for people who want a really fun sci-fi story with a found family, that looks out for and cares for each other and has a really strong ethical code about things that they will and will not do and what is right and wrong morally. And so you just sort of, it gets this big jumble in your head. And it's a really good thing that, we don't do it alone because we have our editor, we have an assistant editor, and then there's the Paramount person, and then there's the continuity person. And all of these people are looking over all of it, and they're all giving notes about how to shape it into something that is what the final, product becomes. And that's only in terms of the writing. And then there's so much that goes into the art, right? Angel Hernandez is the artist on this book, and he's really good at likenesses. He's getting that, like the actors' likenesses so well. He's so good at the ship. The aliens that we can't tell you about yet look so good. He's really wonderful. And, in comics, storytelling is so visual. And so much of the story has to be conveyed through the art, not just in dialogue. So it's really a team effort from all of us putting it together.
I just have to say real quick, it's so funny that you mentioned Angel Hernandez because like 5 minutes before we started recording, I just finished reading Strange New Worlds, the Scorpius run, and he did the art on those, and it was so
Those books
good.
are really good.
They
I
were
read the
really
Scorpius
good.
run.
Yeah, I had them like I just I have 2 kids and sometimes I just don't have any time to read. I've had them like on my coffee table for like a year and a half, 2 years now. Finally just read all 5 and they were great and the art was fantastic.
Yeah, he's really good. But getting to see his pages come in our inbox, like, oh, it's such a treat getting to see them. So yeah.
I can't wait. I wanted, so I love Voyager. Let's put that out there first of all.
Sure.
It's my comfort track. I'm gonna watch 2 episodes and then 5 hours later I'm like 2 season deep, as one does, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a show from the 90s and who has, I'm a biracial woman and like the depiction of Bellana has like a lot of questionable things. For example, I know you were a sensitivity consultant for Prodigy. So how does that work that you've done on Prodigy also translate in adapting stories that, were told into a certain optic? 20, 30 years ago? And how do you adapt the story maybe for a reader, sorry, of 2025, basically?
Yeah, that's well, we got the Prodigy job because we know one of the producers on the show, and he's familiar with a lot of the work that I've done with writing around trans people and trans allegories in media and trans representation in media. And so he came to us and said, "We have this character, Zero, whose story in season 2 we think could be a really strong trans allegory, and we would like to make it one, but we don't want to get it wrong. We don't want to accidentally do harm, which is the most important thing, right? And say or imply things that we don't mean to say or imply about trans people." So they asked us to come on board and sort of help them shape Zero's arc through the season to be sure that everything was, where it needed to be. And they were saying the things they wanted to say and what would mean a lot too for trans and non-binary people to see. So that was a really rewarding thing to get to do.
Right, and for people who don't know, Zero's arc is about he's a Medusan, and so he's kind of in a body to protect other people from seeing him directly because it can hurt other people.
Yeah, and they can't feel anything in that body, in the original body, but then they get this sort of organic body where they can feel, and it changes, right? It's a different body. It
Over
changes
the course of season 2, yeah.
how they interact with people in the world, and that's a very, very trans thing to go through. So getting to work on that was great, and not a lot of shows want to do those kinds of things, and more should, because it's really important, especially when it is so hard to get trans and non-binary representation out there. And so when you're approaching things like that in what we did with the comic, like Voyager is so great, but it was a product of its time, like every Star Trek is, right? And so it's very the stuff with Chakotay, they tried, right? They had a sensitivity consultant, but he was a fraud
Fake
who
sensitivity.
fooled all of
I
Hollywood.
remember reading about that.
And that's
Yeah.
why
That's why
Chakotay's
it's so weird.
Native American stuff
It
is
makes
so
a lot.
cringe.
It makes a lot. Of
It's all
sense
made
now
up.
because it's literally made up.
Yes, it's all wrong. So we didn't try to like quote unquote fix that, but we tried to bring it closer into the kinds of stories that you hope to see now, or like you see in Star Trek now, where it's getting ever closer to living up to its own ideals of inclusion in terms of cast, right? In the terms of racial makeup, body makeup, gender makeup. They're getting so much closer to what they've always wanted to be. And so we tried to sort of incorporate that into the story as best we could. And we can't change the cast, they are who they are, but we can explore some things and how they deal with things and who they become and how they handle stuff
I
like
would just
that.
say, in terms of television history, we are watching the old Doctor Who,
Classic Doctor Who,
where
yeah.
women are constantly talked over, told they're stupid, fainting, screaming.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't entirely different on the
Right.
original series of Star Trek.
But like from what Giraffe was saying, like, the depiction of B'Elanna, I feel like in that era, like we're talking about Janeway at B'Elanna, and I'm feeling like this was when they started to play with the idea that women were people and they were trying. And so then you get Buffy and you get Alias, and it's like,
Yeah.
look, kick-ass women who do things. And like, was it all perfect? Absolutely not. But you can kind of see the progression, I guess. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to say, like, we adore Prodigy on this show. Like, we love it.
It's
So
a
great.
great show.
Yeah, it is one of our favorite shows. Like, we pride ourselves on having like killer coverage of it, and I loved Zero's arc in season 2 so much,
I'm so
and
glad.
it shows. It really does show that a lot of care went into like telling that story the right way. So, yeah. I want to pivot to something that I was so excited to hear about that I didn't know was that you work on Star Trek Adventures, because
I went down your resume
Yeah.
and I was like, wait.
Because at the beginning of the year, I started GMing the second edition starter campaign with members of our patron collective. You both have done work there, from mission briefs, the Disco campaign guide, the Lower Decks crew packs, and of course, the second edition core rulebook, which has become like one of my best friends right now because I'm constantly referencing it and going through it. How fun is it to be able to work on something where people like me and people like, you know, that I'm GMing get to create their own Star Trek stories? And do you both dabble in the game at all?
Funny story. Okay. So we got into writing for it because we were first players. And when we played it, we fell in love with it really fast because it's like getting to live inside Star Trek for an afternoon, right? You're like living inside Star Trek. It's so great. It preserves the feel of the shows so well. And so we'd been playing for a while and we loved it so much. I found the creators of it, the people who worked on it online, and just to say, hey, thank you for getting this so right. It's such an amazing thing as a Star Trek fan. We love it so much. And
also, we have some questions about Starship Combat. Could we just talk about that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying that.
yeah. Right. So they were like, yeah, we know there's some issues with that. We got to work on it. But they found out that we were writers and they asked us if we wanted to contribute. And would we? Yes, we would. And so we've been writing for that here and there as we can fit it in around our other deadlines for a few years now. And it's really great. I mean, I run 2 different Star Trek Adventures games that are in a shared universe.
Oh, cool.
So there's 2 crews on 2 ships, and like once every year or so, we do a big crossover. There's 14 players. And when we do that, here's the best thing. A lot of Star Trek actors are on Cameo now. So I go there and I get a cameo from them in character as their characters, like sending a message to the players.
Yeah,
like
so
I had
smart.
in the first one, I had Denise Crosby as Sela threatening them that she was going to kill them and destroy their ships. And in the second one, Nana Visitor welcomed them to Deep Space Nine personally. And who did I get in the third one? Oh, it was Tim Russ. Tuvok came to save them. And so, and that's a really fun thing to get to do. And it makes it feel even more like you're living in that universe, you know? So yeah, we're giant fans of that first and foremost. We love everything Star Trek. So we're the biggest nerds.
Now I feel like I'm an idiot for not getting Jonathan Frakes to do the distress call I did. I wrote a Moopsie one shot for Trek Long Island, and
So good.
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Before we go, Tilly, I kind of wanted to end on you because I want to give you a moment to talk about your weekly essays, where you talk about trans life on your website, Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. I see your stuff all the time on my Blue Sky, which is great. I feel like you are just like such an important voice in the trans community, and I love seeing that stuff. So, how important is it to you getting those essays out, especially in this current world that we live in?
It's super important, and I never thought they would become as important to me and other people as they have been. When I came out publicly, I realized even then that I had way more privilege than most trans people, even most trans women. I'm in a very privileged position. And I felt that because of that, I needed to use my privilege to try to help people. And one of the things that I struggled with in the years before I came out publicly and with my own transition is I had to do most of it alone. Because I came out publicly in the middle of lockdown during COVID. You couldn't find in-person community. There is information online, right? But it's not always in the same place and it's kind of hard to find. And I'm a writer and that's what I do. So I thought I'll just write about my experience transitioning and existing as a trans person in this world and what that's like. And so I've written one essay just about every week for over 5 years now. So there's like over 200 of them. And it's just, it's hard to explain because like this whole sort of community has popped up around them that I never planned on. A bunch of them turned into a book that meant a lot to a whole bunch of people and caused them to start a Discord that there are hundreds and hundreds of people on now. I had nothing to do with this. I'm there, but I didn't make it. And it blows my mind that things like this happen. And like it showed me the real importance of it was right after the election, because I had all of these people suddenly asking me what they were supposed to do. How do we get through this? And I never wanted to be in that position. I wasn't trying to be, I'm just some chick writing stuff, right? I'm a writer. That's all I know. But I had all these people looking to me, and I didn't know, that was it was a surprise, and it was a little hard to deal with. It felt like a lot of pressure because I didn't want to let anybody down, and so what I wrote about that, and what I came to the solution of at the end was, I don't know how we fix all of this. It's going to take a lot of cis people to do that because there's not enough trans people to do that on our own, and a lot of cis people don't care. But the most important thing for like every trans and non-binary person to do through these next 4 years, however difficult they're going to be, is to just survive, right? Existence is resistance. They don't want us around, so we need to be here. You need to stay on this side of the ground no matter what, whatever you do. That's the most important thing. And if that's all you can do, that is enough, And so, and as part of that, you worry about people complying in advance. We see it so much, kind of with Star Trek's parent company this past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's really rough, and I didn't want to do that. And so, because I know there are so many people out there that surprisingly somehow depend on and count on and get some kind of comfort from the essays and podcast episodes that I put out. So I said, I'm just going to keep doing it for as long as I can because it matters. I know it matters. People have written to me over and over again to tell me how much it matters, and how much it helped them explain things to their family members, or it helped cis parents understand their trans kids, which is absolutely magical to me. So it's become like as important as all the other writing that we do, just because it affects so many people so much. And I never thought it would. I don't know. The first year, like nobody read them. There were like 5 people, but it just grew and grew because I kept doing it. So I'm so glad that you see them and that you enjoy them, and I hope they help. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of babbled there. I don't know.
No, it was a beautiful answer, and I just want to say it is important, and now more than ever. And I truly appreciate it. I have LGBTQ members in my family.
Yeah.
One of our kids just recently came out, so like it's a really big deal. So keep it up, and thank you.
It's a really big deal that you support your kid doing that. That's amazing because so many don't have that. I didn't have that, and I know how important it is. So thank you for that. That's amazing.
I think also like in this situation, and we keep saying that over and over again, like the necessity of having community. So many people are alone. Like I came from France and I was surprised at how alone people are here. Like you don't have neighbors, you don't have community things happening in most places. And I think with the pandemic and with also, everything that's happening right now, finding your tribe, finding your people, knowing that you have a support system, knowing that sometimes it's just people on internet. I mean, all my friends are people I found on internet at this point. But
Same.
finding there are discords, there are people to follow online, there is system being put in place for survival, and community is important. And we created a community also, we don't really know how.
Giraffe was literally one of our community members and became one of the hosts of the show. So, it's community is amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. And at the end, I think that's all we'll have. So
yeah. Well, and I love that too, because that's such a Star Trek thing, right? We're all stronger together. We can do so much more together than we can alone. And our differences should be celebrated rather than, be used as a wedge to drive us apart. So that's a very Star Trek thing. It's one thing I've loved about it so much. So I think, implementing that in our lives, finding your community, the people that you can count on, that can count on you, and working together, that's the way we get through.
Absolutely. So we already said that we can find you on Blue Sky, but where else can we find you?
We have our writing website is birdguest.com, which you can go to, and it has links to all of our work that you can find that is out there right now, and we'll have news on upcoming things as we can talk about them. And yeah, I'm on Blue Sky at Tilly Bridges, mostly is where I am.
And I'm Susan L. Bridges, mostly on Blue Sky and Instagram.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be at Comic-Con.
We will be at San Diego Comic-Con this year. We've got lots of signings and panels.
We're
both going to be there. Yeah.
I'm
we will have to meet up and hug.
Yes, we absolutely will. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we have a bunch of different panels and signings, but we will both be together on the IDW Star Trek Comics panel on Sunday and the signing afterwards. So
Yeah, Sunday at
you
11
will definitely find us
a.m.,
there.
I believe.
Yeah, and if you want to, Giraffe, you did mention earlier, pre-orders for comics are
Yes.
so important because it tells the store how much interest there is in a book. And if they don't know that a lot of people are interested, they might only order a couple copies or no copies, and then you might not be able to get one. So if you tell them you want one, they will order extra, and that helps the book, and it helps you get more Star Trek comics in the future because then they sell better, and the store can pull them for you, the whole 5-issue series, and as they come out month after month. And the final order cutoff for the first issue is July 28th. So you got to let them know before then. Just go into your local comic shop and say you want Star Trek Voyager Homecoming from IDW, and they can do the rest for you. So.
And you'll be at San Diego Comic-Con. Any other next projects that you'd like to tell our audience about? Or is everything secret?
Well, we do have a YA queer trans rom-com that is coming out from Mad Cave Studios. That much we're allowed to say.
Graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really fun. We can't say more about it just yet, but it is.
Doesn't have a release date yet.
No, but it's about halfway done. And we have another really big graphic novel that we're not allowed to say anything about yet, that just got pushed back to 2027. But the art is in progress for that, so it will still be a long time before that is out. And then we're doing some other stuff that we also can't talk about. But
Secrets everywhere.
Secrets everywhere. NDAs, mountains high. There is I did mention we were talking before we got the Voyager book about another book that we were hoping to do. It's still in progress, going back and forth about getting the approval to go ahead with it. And I really hope we get to. It would be a really amazing thing. And it's kind of fits a little bit like the Voyager book in that it's finding the stories in the cracks. Like, here's a thing that happened in an episode, but what happened between these two moments? And there's a whole story in there, and it's been on my list of like dream. If I could tell one story in all of Star Trek, this was that story, and the editor really liked it. So the hope is, I think she said that Paramount had okayed it, but she still had to talk with IDW, and then the Voyager book happened, and we're like, well, we got to get this going really fast. So we're hoping we can do that, and if so, I hope that we can come back and tell you all about it because it would blow your minds. It's so cool.
Well, I'm gonna put all of like the positive energy into the universe to will that book into existence for you, then, because I don't know a thing about it, but I want to read it already. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, listen, can't wait to meet you both in person because that's awesome. We're going to be covering the IDW panel, so maybe after that or something, but can't wait for that. I want to thank you both so much for joining us and talking about this. Can't wait to have you back on to actually talk about the book in detail because I would love to do that as well.
Oh, we would love to. Yes, once we can actually talk about the content of the book and the story.
The alien, the secret alien.
Yes,
I want to know.
secret aliens. So please go to your local comic shops, pre-order Star Trek Voyager Homecoming. If you can't go, call them. They'll do it for you over the phone too.
That's
Any
true.
way you can, please just go.
I DM my comic book shop on Instagram. I don't even kid you. I just, hey, Didi, can you get me that book? And he's like, yeah.
There you go. So yeah, please go do that. Please make sure that you follow Susan and Tilly. We will see you both this Thursday for our review of Strange New Worlds episode 303, Shuttle to Kinfori. So that'll do it for us. For Giraffe, for Susan and Tilly, I am Julian. Live long and prosper, Majram, and have a great night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.